Vecron had seen 3 commanders die in 2 months. The first one took a plasma round through the chest during a routine patrol. The second one stepped on a mine. The third one simply disappeared one night and everyone knew he had run away. No one blamed him. This war was a death sentence, and everyone knew it. The young Torvali soldier sat in the corner of the barracks, cleaning his weapon for the 100th time. His scales were still bright green, not yet faded by years of combat like the veterans around him. His tail twitched nervously as he listened to the others talk. "Another commander coming," said Sergeant Mora, a human woman with gray in her hair and scars on her hands. "Human this time." The Corvette medic nearby made a sound of disgust. His 4 arms worked quickly as he organized his medical supplies. "Humans. They send us humans. We are already dead." Vecron understood the feeling. Humans were known throughout the Coalition as reckless creatures. They lived short lives and seemed eager to make them even shorter. They charged into battles that wiser species avoided. They laughed in the face of danger, and then they died. The Coalition used them as cheap soldiers, expendable troops for missions no one else wanted. The moon of Kethro 7 was exactly that kind of mission. The enemy had built a fortress here, and the Coalition wanted it destroyed. 3 assault forces had already failed. This was the 4th attempt, and Vecron's unit had been chosen to lead it. "When does this human arrive?" Vecron asked quietly. Now said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned. A human woman stood, their average height, wearing standard combat armor that had seen years of use. Her face was weathered, lined with age and experience. Her eyes were calm, steady, watching them all without judgment. She carried no fancy weapons, no signs of rank beyond a simple insignia on her shoulder. "Call sign a shepherd," she said. "I am getting you through this." No dramatic speech, no promises of glory. It's just those simple words. She walked into the barracks. And Vecron expected her to head for the command table where officers usually sat, separate from the common soldiers. Instead, she walked directly to the nearest soldier, a young Nervian, with trembling antennae. "What is your name?" she asked. The Nervian's compound eyes blinked in confusion. Officers did not ask for names. Officers gave orders and expected obedience. Names were irrelevant, Crix, the Nervian said finally. "My name is Crix." Crix, Shepard repeated, like she was memorizing it. "How long have you served?" 3 cycles. "Family back home?" Crix's antennae twitched with emotion. "A mate. 2 larvae," Shepard nodded slowly. "And we will make sure you get back to them." She moved on to the next soldier. And the next. And the next. For over an hour, she walked through the entire camp, speaking to every single soldier. She learned their names, their homes, their fears, their families. She asked about their combat experience, their injuries, their skills. She listened more than she spoke. Vecron watched her with growing confusion. This was not how commanders behaved. Commanders stayed distant. They had to because soldiers died, and caring about them only made the dying harder. Every military academy in the galaxy taught this. Distance was professionalism. Distance was survival. But this human seemed to have missed that lesson. When she finally reached Vecron, she looked at him with those calm eyes. "You are young," she said. It was not an insult, just an observation. "First deployment," Vecron admitted. Scared? He wanted to lie. Warriors were not supposed to be scared. But something in her eyes made him tell the truth. "Yes." "Good," Shepard said. "Fear keeps you alive. Brave soldiers die. Smart soldiers go home. Be smart, Vecron." She had remembered his name. He'd only said it once during the briefing 3 days ago. Remembered. That night, Shepard called a meeting to discuss the assault plan. The original strategy from Coalition Command was simple. A direct attack on the fortress, overwhelming force, heavy casualties expected but acceptable. Shepard looked at the plan for a long moment. Then she pushed it aside. "No," she said. The Coalition liaison, a tall Valorian with silver skin, stiffened with anger. "That plan comes from Admiral Threk himself. Cannot simply reject it." "The plan is a death sentence," Shepard said calmly. "A direct assault against fortified positions with no cover. We would lose 60% of our forces before reaching the walls. Acceptable losses for a strategic objective. Something changed in Shepard's eyes. They grew colder, harder. There are no acceptable losses under my command. The Valorian laughed. You're a human mercenary. You do not get to decide what is acceptable. Shepard stood slowly. She was shorter than the Valorian, smaller, weaker by any physical measure. But somehow in that moment she seemed larger. I am the commander of this assault force, she said quietly. That means their lives are my responsibility. Every single one. I will complete this mission, but I will do it my way. We go through the cave systems beneath the fortress, small teams moving quietly. We disable their shields from inside, then call in the main assault. Fewer deaths, same result. The caves are unstable, unmapped. Suicide. Less suicidal than your admiral's plan. Shepard turned to the soldiers watching. This mission is dangerous. I will not lie to you. But I promise you this. I will bring you home. Every one of you. Dead or alive, wounded or whole, no one gets left behind. That is my rule, the only rule that matters. Vecran felt something strange in his chest. Hope. He had forgotten what it felt like. The assault began the next morning. Shepard led from the front, not the back. She was the first one into the caves, her weapon raised, her footsteps quiet. The soldiers followed her into the darkness. They moved for hours through the twisting tunnels. The air was thick and hot. Strange sounds echoed from deeper passages. Everyone was tense, waiting for the enemy to find them. The ambush came without warning. Plasma fire lit up the darkness. Soldiers screamed. The tunnel filled with chaos and death. Vecran hit the ground, his heart pounding. He saw a Corvette medic fall, wounded badly. He saw Shepard move without hesitation, throwing herself between the medic and the enemy fire. A plasma bolt grazed her arm, burning through armor and flesh. Blood sprayed across the stone. She did not fall. She did not even stumble. She raised her weapon and returned fire, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Fireteam Alpha, cover left. Bravo, suppressing fire. Crix, get the wounded to cover. Move now. Her arm was bleeding. Her face was tight with pain, but her voice was steady, calm, commanding. Vecran stared at her as she stood in the middle of hell, bleeding and unbroken, and he realized something that changed him forever. This human was different. This human actually meant it. No one left behind. The ambush had torn the unit apart. Vecran could hear screaming through his communicator, voices overlapping, panic spreading like fire. The enemy had known they were coming. The caves had become a trap. He pressed himself against the cold stone wall, his weapon clutched to his chest. Around him were 6 other soldiers, cut off from the main force. The Corvette medic was bleeding badly. A young Nervian soldier was shaking so hard his armor rattled. Sergeant Mora, the older human woman, was checking her ammunition with steady hands. Through the static and chaos, a voice cut through. Calm, clear, impossibly steady. All units, this is Shepard. Report positions. One by one, the scattered groups responded. Shepard listened, asked questions, gave orders. She was coordinating 3 separated teams simultaneously while under fire herself. The crone could hear plasma bolts in the background of her transmission. She was fighting and commanding at the same time. Vecran's group, hold your position. Help is coming. Do not move. Repeat, do not move. Understood, Vecran said, though he did not feel like he understood anything anymore. The enemy patrols were searching the tunnels. Vecran could hear them. Boots echoing on stone, alien voices calling to each other. His group had found a small chamber off the main passage, hidden behind fallen rocks. For now, they were safe. But the enemy would find them eventually. Sergeant Mora moved to sit beside him. She was old for a human soldier. Gray streaks in her dark hair, lines around her eyes. But she moved like someone half her age, and her eyes were sharp. You want to know about her? Mora said quietly. About Shepard? Vecran nodded. She is not like other commanders. No, she is not. Mora checked her weapon, her movements automatic, practiced over years of combat. I have served under her for 6 years. I would follow her into hell. I have followed her into hell. More than once. Why is she this way? Mora was quiet for a moment. The sounds of battle had faded to distant echoes. Somewhere in the darkness, Shepard was fighting to reach them. Before she was Shepard, she was a prisoner, Mora said. Coalition soldiers were captured by the enemy. 37 of them. They were held for 2 years, tortured, starved. The Coalition wrote them off. Acceptable losses. Vekran felt his stomach twist. When the rescue finally came, they found survivors barely alive. The rescue team told them to evacuate immediately. The enemy was counterattacking. Every second mattered. Mora smiled, but there was no humor in it. She refused. She would not leave until every prisoner was accounted for. Living or dead. Human or alien. She made them search every cell, every room, every pit in that hellhole. They found 3 more survivors because of her, and 7 bodies that would have been left to rot. She was just a soldier then. Low rank. Nobody important. But she looked at those rescue officers and told them that no one was getting left behind. Not while she could stand. They almost court-martialed her for insubordination. Mora laughed softly. Instead, they promoted her. And she has been keeping that promise ever since. Sound echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps, getting closer. Everyone raised their weapons. The Nervian soldier's hands were shaking badly. His compound eyes were wide with terror. Vekran could see him starting to break, but there was nothing anyone could do. If they spoke, if they moved, the enemy would find them. All they could do was wait and pray. The footsteps passed. The enemy patrol moved on. Vekran let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Hours passed. The communicator crackled with updates. Shepard was pushing through the enemy lines, fighting her way toward the fortress shield generator. If she could destroy it, the main coalition assault force could attack from above. The mission could still succeed. Shepard team is approaching the generator, her voice said through the static. Enemy resistance heavy. We need support at Junction 7. Negative, Shepard, came another voice. Junction 7 is crawling with hostiles. That is a suicide run. Understood. Shepard team will handle it. All other units hold position. Vekran listened as Shepard led a 4-soldier team into certain death. He heard the firefight through the communicator. He heard soldiers die. He heard her voice, always calm, always steady, guiding her people through the storm. Then the generator exploded. Vekran felt the ground shake. Through the tunnels, he saw a distant flash of light. Shepard had done it. Shield generator is down, her voice said. Main assault force, you are clear. Beginning extraction. But something was wrong. Her voice was strained, tired, and the sounds of battle had not stopped. Shepard, what is your status? Silence. Shepard respond. More silence. Then her voice came back, weaker now. Shepard team is pinned at the generator room. Exit collapsed. No route to extraction point. Vekran's blood went cold. All units. Primary objective complete, Shepard continued. Complete the mission. Do not attempt recovery. Repeat, do not attempt recovery. She was telling them to leave her behind. The communicator erupted with protests. Soldiers shouting, arguing, refusing, but Shepard's voice cut through them all. That is an order. Complete the mission. Get our people home. Sergeant Mora was on her feet, her face hard. She keyed her communicator. Negative, Shepard. No one left behind. Your own rule. We are coming to get you, Mara. Do not be stupid. The mission comes first. The mission is done. Now we are coming home. All of us. Mora looked at the soldiers around her. Anyone who wants to help me rescue the commander, follow me. Anyone who wants to follow orders, stay here. No one stayed. Vekran did not know why he moved. He was terrified. He was exhausted. But something in his chest would not let him abandon the woman who had looked at him and seen more than just another expendable soldier. They fought through the tunnels. Following Mora's lead, they met up with other groups, other soldiers who had heard the call. Word had spread through the scattered unit like wildfire. Shepard was trapped. Shepard needed help. No one left behind. The battle at the generator room was brutal. The enemy had dug in, waiting for the rescue they knew would come. But they had not expected the ferocity they faced. Soldiers from a dozen species fighting side by side, refusing to retreat, refusing to give up. Vecran killed his first enemy soldier that day. He did not have time to feel anything about it. There was only the next target, the next step forward, the next meter of ground between him and his commander. When they finally broke through, they found Shepard propped against a wall, rifle still in her hands, 2 dead soldiers beside her. She was wounded. Blood soaked her armor, but she was alive. She looked up as her soldiers poured into the room. Her eyes clouded with pain, focused on Mora. "I gave you an order," she said weakly. Mora knelt beside her, already working on her wounds. "You gave us a rule first. No one left behind. We are just following it." Shepard closed her eyes. Something that might have been a smile touched her lips as they carried her to the extraction point. Vecran heard a voice on the communicator. "A coalition general, demanding a name for the official report." Shepard did not respond. She was barely conscious, her head resting against Vecran's shoulder as he helped carry her. But the soldiers around them were already whispering. A single word, passing from mouth to mouth, species to species. Shepard. Call sign Shepard. They did not need her name. They had something better. They had her promise, and she had kept it every single time they were trapped behind. Enemy lines. The explosion that destroyed the shield generator had collapsed the main tunnel. Shepard's team was cut off from the extraction point, with enemy patrols hunting them through the darkness. There were 4 of them left. Shepard, her arm wrapped in bloody bandages. Vecran, his scales covered in dust and dried blood that was not his own. Crix, the Nervian soldier whose antennae trembled with every sound. And Korath, an old Korvath demolitions expert with 3 arms, having lost the 4th in a war no one remembered anymore. Vecran expected Shepard to be planning their escape. She was known for her tactical mind, her ability to find a way out when there was no way out. Instead, she was kneeling beside Crix, speaking softly. The Nervian had frozen during the battle. Fear had locked his limbs and stolen his breath. Vecran had seen it happen before, had seen officers punish soldiers for such weakness. Some species considered it a disgrace worthy of execution. Shepard was holding Crix's trembling hands in her own. "Look at me," she said gently. "Crix, look at me." The compound eyes slowly focused on her face. "Fear is not weakness," Shepard said. "Fear is your body trying to keep you alive. It means you are smart enough to know that danger is real. The bravest soldiers I have ever known were terrified every moment of every battle. They fought anyway. That is courage. Not the absence of fear, but the choice to keep moving despite it." "I failed you," Crix whispered. "I could not fight. You are here. You are still breathing. You have not failed anything." Shepard squeezed his hands. "When we get out of here, you are going home to your mate and your larvae. That is your only mission now. Stay alive. Go home. Everything else is just details." Something changed in Crix's eyes. The trembling slowed. His antennae steadied. Meanwhile, Korath was studying the collapsed tunnel. His 3 remaining arms running over the rocks. "There is a way through," he said, his deep voice rumbling like distant thunder. "But it will take hours. Maybe more. We do not have ours," Vecran said. He could hear the enemy patrols getting closer. Boots on stone. Voices calling out. They were being hunted. Shepard stood slowly, wincing at the pain in her wounded arm. She moved to a position where she could see the main passage. Her face was thoughtful, calculating. "Then we make ours," she said. "How?" She turned to look at them. Her eyes were tired but determined. "I draw them away. Lead them on a chase through the secondary tunnels. You 3 stay here. Work on the collapse. Get through to the other side." "You will die," Korath said bluntly. "Maybe, probably not. I am very good at not dying." She almost smiled. "But even if I do, you will be safe. That is the point." Vecran stared at her. "You are using yourself as bait. "Okay, I'm using me as bait," she agreed. "Not you. Never you. That is the whole point, Vecran. I am the commander. This is my job. Keeping you alive." "That is not how it works," Vecran said. He surprised himself with his own voice, stronger than he felt. "You told us no one gets left behind. Does that rule not include you? That rule was always about all of you." "Never about me." Crix stood up. His legs were shaky, but he was standing. "Then the rule is wrong." Korath's 3 arms folded across his massive chest. "I am not leaving. I am too old to start following stupid orders now." Shepard looked at each of them in turn. Crix, the frightened young Nervian, who was choosing to be brave. Korath, the scarred veteran who had seen too many wars. Vecran, the rookie whose first battle had changed everything he believed about leadership. Something shifted in her expression. The commander's mask slipped, just for a moment, and Vecran saw something underneath. Surprise, emotion, gratitude. "Right," she said softly. Together, then, they turned their trapped position into a fortress. Korath found explosive charges they could use to collapse secondary tunnels, funneling any attackers into a single approach. Shepard positioned them in overlapping fields of fire, each soldier covering the others. She did not just give orders. She explained why, made sure each of them understood the plan, gave them ownership of their roles. CHRIX would watch their back, guard the tunnel they were trying to clear. It kept him away from the heaviest fighting, but it was not a pity assignment. If enemies came from behind, he would be their only warning. Korath would handle the demolitions, collapsing passages to slow the enemy advance. Vecran would fight beside Shepard at the front line. "You could die today," Shepard said to him as they waited. The enemy was coming. They could hear them, I know. "Are you afraid?" "Yes." He gripped his weapon tighter. "But I'm staying anyway." "Is that not what you said courage was?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "You have grown, Vecran. Your first deployment, and you are already becoming someone worth following. I am proud of you." No one had ever said those words to him before. The enemy came in waves. Shepard had been right about the tactical advantage of their position. The collapsed tunnels forced the attackers into a narrow approach, and the 4 defenders held them off with precise fire and careful evacuation. But they were tired, wounded, running low on ammunition, and the enemy kept coming. Hours passed. Korath worked on the collapse between firefights, his 3 arms moving stones that would take Vecran's whole body to shift. Crix held his position at the rear, alert and steady. The fear was still there. Vecran could see it in every twitch of his antennae. But he was not letting it control him anymore. Shepard fought like something out of legend. She was wounded, exhausted, bleeding from a dozen small cuts. But she never stopped, never faltered. Every shot she fired found its target. Every command she gave was exactly right. She made the impossible seem possible. When the last wave finally retreated, the tunnels were silent except for heavy breathing. "They are regrouping," Shepard said. Her voice was hoarse. "We have maybe 20 minutes before the next assault." Korath pushed aside the last of the collapsed rocks. Behind them was a passage, dark and narrow, leading toward the coalition lines. "It is open. We can go." They moved. Vecran helped support Shepard, whose legs were starting to fail her. She leaned against him, heavier than she should have been, her body finally admitting its limits. They were halfway through the passage when they heard it. Voices, coalition voices. Sergeant Mora's voice. "Shepard. Shepard, respond." Relief flooded through Vecran's body. He keyed his communicator. "We are here. We are coming through." When they emerged from the darkness, coalition soldiers surrounded them. Medics rushed to Shepard's side. Mora was there, tears in her eyes, gripping Shepard's hand. A coalition general's voice crackled over the communicator, demanding identification. Demanding a name for the official report, Shepard was barely conscious, but she heard the question. She said nothing. The soldiers around her were already answering for her. "Shepard," they said. "Call sign Shepard." Later Vecran would remember this moment. The commander, wounded and exhausted, surrounded by soldiers from a dozen species who had risked everything to save her. The legend being born in blood and loyalty and a simple promise, no one left behind. She had meant it. And now, so did they. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Kethro 7. Vecren stood in the barracks of his new unit, staring at the wall. His scales had faded from bright green to a duller shade, the color of a soldier who had seen combat. He had been promoted, given a medal, assigned to a prestigious Torvali battalion. He hated every moment of it. His new commander was a Torvali general named Kethfer, who believed that soldiers were tools to be used and discarded. During their first mission, Kethfer had ordered a squad into a crossfire that everyone knew was fatal. 16 soldiers died. Kethfer had called it an acceptable tactical sacrifice. Vecren had almost killed him. Only the thought of what Shepard would say had stopped his hand. Now he was reading intelligence reports in the middle of the night, looking for any mention of her. The classified files from Kethra 7 never used her name, just a call sign. But that was enough to track her movements. Shepard had been reassigned to a different sector. She was still leading mixed species units into impossible situations. She was still bringing them home, but tonight the reports said something different. Valtheris Station. Civilian evacuation under heavy assault. Enemy forces closing in. Expected casualties. Total. Shepard's unit had volunteered for the defense. Vecren was moving before he finished reading. He packed his equipment, wrote a short message resigning his commission, and walked out of the barracks. Desertion, court-martial offense. He did not care when he reached Valtheris Station 3 days later. Found chaos. The station was massive. Civilian trading hub that had become a refugee center when the war swept through the sector. Thousands of people from dozens of species crowded the corridors. Children cried. The wounded begged for help. The air was thick with fear, and in the middle of it all, a familiar figure was giving orders. Shepard looked older than he remembered, thinner. The wound on her arm had healed into a scar that twisted across her skin. But her eyes were the same, calm, steady, seeing everything. She noticed him immediately. Her expression did not change, but something flickered in those tired eyes. Recognition, understanding. Vakran, she said. You were out of uniform. I deserted, I noticed. Court-martial offense. I know. She studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once, as if his presence made perfect sense, and handed him a weapon. Welcome to Valtheris. We have 10,000 civilians to evacuate, and about 6 hours before the enemy breaks through our defenses. Get to work. The defense was being run with the same precision Vecren, remembered from Kethra 7. Shepard had organized the station's skeleton military force into effective units, assigned civilian volunteers to support roles, and turned every corridor into a potential defensive position. But the enemy was too strong. Their ships were closing in on the station. Their ground forces were already breaching the outer sections. Vecren worked alongside soldiers from a dozen species. He recognized some of them from Kethra 7. Crix was there, no longer shaking, his compound eyes focused and determined. Kareth was there, his 3 arms loading heavy weapons. Mora was there, gray hair pulled back, organizing the evacuation with brutal efficiency. They had all come. Just like him. They had all heard that Shepard needed help. They had all abandoned their posts to stand beside her one more time. The enemy commander sent a message. His voice crackled over the station speakers, cold and confident. Your military personnel will be allowed to leave freely. The civilians will be processed according to standard protocols. Everyone knew what process meant. Slavery for the useful. Death for the rest. Shepard walked to the communications console. She listened to the message replay. Then she picked up a heavy tool from a nearby repair kit and smashed the console to pieces. No. Response necessary. The evacuation accelerated. Every ship, every shuttle, every escape pod was loaded with civilians. Children first. Then the elderly. Then the wounded. Then everyone else who could fit Shepard was everywhere. She carried children to shuttles with her own hands. She helped wounded refugees into escape pods. She spoke calm words to terrified parents and promised them their families would be safe. A Nervian refugee recognized her voice. He had been at Kethro 7, as one of the auxiliary workers who had survived because Shepard's plan had saved the rear positions. He spread the word to the other civilians. The Shepard is here. Vecron watched the effect ripple through the crowded corridors. The panic eased. The chaos organized itself. People who had been screaming and pushing began to form orderly lines. They trusted that voice. They trusted that promise. The last evacuation transports were loading. When the enemy broke through the main defenses, Shepard was on the front line, rifle in hand, holding back the assault, while the civilians boarded. Vecron fought beside her, along with the handful of soldiers who had stayed. "Last transport is full," Mora reported through the communicator. "But we need 5 more minutes for launch clearance." "Then we give them 5 minutes," Shepard said. They gave them 7. When the transport finally launched, the defenders fell back to the secondary positions. And then the tertiary. And then there was nothing left. The station's defense grid was still operational. Someone had to stay behind to activate it, to buy time for the transports to reach safe jump distance. The controls could not be operated remotely. Someone had to stay. Shepard was already moving toward the control room. Vecron grabbed her arm. His claws dug into her sleeve, harder than he intended. "Phew," said, "No one gets left behind." She looked at him, really looked at him. Her eyes were tired, sad, but certain. "That rule was always about all of you," she said softly. "Never about me. I keep my promises, Vecron. Everyone else goes home. That is what matters. Not everyone." His voice cracked. "You matter too. You are not expendable. You never were. I am one person. Out there are 10,000 people who will live because I stayed. That is simple math. It is not math. It is wrong." He was desperate now. "Let me stay. Let someone else stay. You have given enough." She reached up and touched his face. Her hand was warm against his scales. "You have become everything I hoped you would," she said. "A good soldier. A good leader. A good person. When this is over, I need you to keep going. Teach others what I taught you. Keep the promise alive." She pulled away gently. "Get to the transport, Vecron." That is an order. He could not make his body move. He could not leave her. Mora's voice cut through the moment. "Shepard, there is another way." Shepard turned. Mora was standing at the control console, studying the displays. "The grid can be set to automatic activation. It will only give us 2 minutes instead of 5. But no one has to stay. 2 minutes. The transports needed 5 for safe jump distance." "It is not enough," Shepard said. "It is if we overload the reactor at the same time," Korath said. He had appeared beside them, his 3 arms already working on a secondary console. "Reactor explosion plus defense grid. It will cripple their fleet. Give our transports more than enough time. Cannot overload the reactor remotely either." Korath smiled. It was not a happy smile. "No, but I can set a timer. Long enough for all of us to reach the transport." Shepard stared at him. "That timer gives you maybe 90 seconds to run. Through enemy-held corridors, then we had better run fast." Korath looked at her steadily. "No one gets left behind, Commander. Not even you." For a moment, Shepard did not speak. Then she nodded. "Set the timer. Everyone move. Now." They ran. 90 seconds to live. The corridors of Althera Station blurred past as Vecron ran. His legs burned. His lungs screamed for air. Beside him, Shepard was keeping pace despite her wounds. Despite her exhaustion, her face set with grim determination. Behind them, Korath's timer was counting down. Ahead of them, enemy soldiers blocked every path to the hangar bay. They fought through. There was no time for tactics, no time for caution. Just pure, desperate violence as they carved a path through the enemy ranks. Crix moved like someone possessed, his fear transformed into fury. Mora dropped soldiers with mechanical precision. Korath used his 3 arms to clear obstacles that would have stopped anyone else. 60 seconds. The hangar bay doors were ahead. Vecron could see the last transport waiting, its engines already warming up. Civilians pressed against the windows, watching the soldiers run. Enemy reinforcements appeared from a side corridor. Plasma fire erupted around them. Someone screamed. Vecron felt a bolt sear past his head, close enough to burn his scales. 40 seconds, they reached the transport ramp. Soldiers piled aboard, practically falling over each other. Vecron turned to count heads. To make sure everyone was there, Shepard was not on the ramp. She was still outside, her weapon raised, holding back the enemy pursuit. Buying them the seconds they needed to close the doors and launch, 20 seconds. Shepard, Vecron screamed. She glanced back at him. Her face was calm, at peace. This was what she had always expected. This was how she had always known she would die. Buying time for others to live. 10 seconds, and then Mora was there. The old sergeant hit Shepard from the side, tackling her onto the transport ramp. Crix grabbed Shepard's arm. Koroth grabbed her leg. Together, they dragged her inside as the doors slammed shut. 5 seconds, the transport launched. Acceleration slammed Vecron against the deck. Through the viewport, he saw Valtheris station shrink behind them. 0 seconds. The station exploded. The reactor overload combined with the defense grid created a shockwave that tore through the enemy fleet. Ships crumpled like paper. The blast washed over the escaping transports but lacked the force to damage them. They had made it. Barely 10,000 civilians were safe. Vecron lay on the deck, gasping for breath. Beside him, Shepard was staring at the ceiling, her chest heaving, her eyes wide with shock. "You idiots," she whispered. "You absolute idiots."
Help.
Mora sat up, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. "We learned from the best, Commander." Shepard closed her eyes. And for the first time since Vecron had known her, she laughed. A real laugh, tired and broken and beautiful. They had all survived. Against every odd, against every expectation. Together, 1 year later, the Battle of Valtheris. Station was studied in military academies across the galaxy. 10,000 civilians saved from certain death. An enemy fleet crippled by a handful of defenders. It was the kind of story that became legend, but in the official records. There was no name for the commander who had made it possible. Just a call sign. Shepard Vecron now commanded his own unit. Mixed species, just like Shepard's had been. He led them the way she had taught him. Names first. Mission second. No one left behind. He had been promoted so many times that he had stopped counting. The desertion charges had been quietly dropped after Valtheris. Apparently saving 10,000 lives was considered adequate penance. Today he was not wearing his uniform. He was wearing simple civilian clothes as he walked through a quiet garden on a small human colony world. The air was warm and smelled like flowers he could not name. He found her sitting on a bench. Watching the sunset, she looked different without armor, smaller, more human. She was using a cane now, her injuries from Valtheris having left permanent damage. Her hair had more gray in it. Her face had more lines. She did not look like a legend. She looked like a tired woman who had given everything she had. "Vecron," she said as he approached. She smiled, and it transformed her whole face. "It has been a while. 6 months." He sat down beside her. "I wanted to visit sooner. But there was always another mission. Another crisis. There always is." She looked at the sunset. "That is why I retired." Someone else's turn to carry the weight. They sat in comfortable silence. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and gold. "I never asked," Vecron said finally. "At Valtheris, when you thought you were going to die, you tried to tell me something? Before Mora tackled you." Shepard was quiet for a moment. "Did I?" "You did. But I could not hear you. The noise was too loud." She nodded slowly. "I was trying to tell you my name. My real name. The one no one ever knew. Will you tell me now?" She looked at him. Her eyes were the same as always. Calm, steady, seeing everything. "Alina," she said. "Alina Vasquez." That is who I was before I became Shepherd. Before the wars, before everything, Alina Vasquez. Such a simple name. Such a human name. Why did you never tell anyone? Because the name does not matter. She looked back at the sunset. Names are just sounds. What matters is what you do with the time you have, the lives you save, the people you protect. I never wanted to be famous, Vekran. I never wanted statues or medals or history books. I just wanted to keep my promise. Bring everyone home, you did. Vikron's voice was thick with emotion. Every time. You kept it. Not every time. I lost soldiers. I lost friends. Every one of them haunts me. She closed her eyes. But I saved more than I lost. I have to believe that counts for something. It counts for everything. They sat together until the sun disappeared below the horizon. The stars came out, scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. I am teaching new soldiers now, Vekran said. Your methods. Your philosophy. No one left behind. Good, she smiled. Then it does not matter what happens to me. The promise lives on. It will live forever. He stood slowly. Thank you, Shepherd. For everything you taught me. For everything you gave. She reached up and gripped his hand. Her fingers were warm and strong despite her age. Thank you for coming back, she said. At Kethros 7, at Valtheris. You did not have to. None of you did. But you came back anyway. That is how I know I did something right. I taught you to care about each other. To fight for each other. That is worth more than any victory. Vekran walked away from that garden carrying something precious. Not a name. Names were just sounds, she had said. He carried something greater. A promise. A legacy. A way of leading that put people before missions and compassion before glory. The galaxy never learned her name. They only knew the call sign that ruled the battlefield. But those who served under her knew the truth. Shepherd was not just a title. It was a promise. A way of life. A reminder that the greatest strength was not in weapons or tactics or fearless charges into danger. The greatest strength was in caring enough to bring everyone home. And she had kept that promise every single time.